Welcome to Terry TV, and boy, am I excited to have you. And I have to tell you, I got the curly girl thing going on with the gal I'm going to have on. This is going to be a really different show and a really fun show. I met Julie, oh gosh, almost a year ago now, 7 months ago, and it was that instantaneous, I got to get to know this woman, I resonate with her, and then I got to read her book, and then I started stalking her all over social media and following her around. Because she's really got a very interesting, different concept, and I really wanted her to come to the show and share that with you. So, Judy Reisler is a life designer. Just breathe that word in before I even bring her on the show. Life designer. Wouldn't it be awesome if someone designed your business and your life? I mean, that is just such a cool term. But her book is a must-read. Get a copy of her book. It is called Get a PhD in You, and I totally love that. She's a speaker. She's a Lululemon ambassador. And for those men who don't know what that is, don't worry about it. Us women do. She is an entrepreneur. She's a mama of two. And Julie coaches leaders. She also teaches at Georgetown University. She works with companies and teams on both leadership and mindset, even on mindfulness. Julie holds a master's degree in coaching. She has over 12 certifications in health and well-being. And I have to tell you, her passion is one of the things that resonates the most, and that is about helping you be your best, most successful self. Welcome to Terry TV, Julie.
Wow, thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. I'm sitting here like, holy mackerel, that was one of the nicest things I've heard in a long time. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
You're welcome. And, as I'm reading some of your accolades and sharing that with our viewers, I'm going, I could talk for 10 more minutes and introduce you because I've been stalking you. There's a lot to say, and I truly mean this. I read lots and lots of books, and some books I'm like, that was okay, and some books I'm like, oh, I got a couple lessons, and some books don't resonate. Your book, not only the title resonated, but literally what is in it is so important and so foundational. And we view this business as entrepreneurs, which means that we're not just doing business transactionally. We're doing business connected as people. So we've got to be our best you as people, right? Yeah.
100%.
So tell us about you. You've had all these crazy accomplishments, and there's more that I left out. How did you actually get started in business?
Well, oh boy, I'm gonna do my best to stay on point here because I could go into the medium long version or the super long version. So, I think it's important to establish right up front. For me, a lot of my powerful purpose and feeling like I've got to be doing this work and starting my own business came out of a place of actually some darkness. And I think it's important to say that because sometimes you can read the list and hear all these accolades. It's like, oh, she's great. She's got it down. It's like, no, actually it's a daily practice. And it came out of a space of a lot of breakdown for me. I'm very honest about this. I struggled for a long, long time not being very mindful and I struggled with emotional overeating for those who might be listening that can relate. It's interesting because I don't necessarily wear that today, but I had years and years of, we're talking like secretive binge. I used to work for a wonderful franchise for Panera Bread. So I had free pastries all the time. And I would go down to the office kitchen and eat 20 bagels. I would eat, it was crazy over the day. And I think for me, I was really looking for ways to feel connected to myself, to feel better. I didn't have the tools, strategies, ways of being connected and know how to deal with feelings that felt overwhelming. And so that started this very intensive personal development journey about probably 15 years ago. And I always joke, for 20 grand of therapy, every personal development program, I coaches, you too can feel really solid.
Yes.
That will do it. And I also joke at this point, I feel like certifiably certified. But when I finally started to realize what was going on, and this is why I wrote my book, is really the piece missing was feeling that connection and love and, to myself and feeling self-worth. and confidence and all of that. But it stemmed from, really loving and honoring me. And so I realized, oh, wow, like the oxygen mask theory, the more I give that to me, the more I can give to the world. And then it was like, oh my God, I got to teach this and be this, because there are a lot of people out there that were not taught how to do this and that are hurting, or, not living their most, their highest potential, or whatever that looks like. And so that was the impetus. Once I got my master's degree, I had people that stayed on working with me, and I realized I had a good job, a stable job. I'm sure people can relate to this. I had benefits. I had some bonuses. I had a lot of bagels. I mean, a lot of things. They were nice to me. They wanted me to stay. What I realized, though, was that to really make an impact in the world and be able to really help others in different avenues become their highest self and feel fulfilled as a human being, no matter if that's career, life, or both, that I really had to do that by starting my own business. And so I have not looked back. It's been over 3 years, just about a little over 3 years. And I'm just so grateful and in love with what I do. It's amazing.
As I listen to you, what really strikes me, you found your passion. And then when you found your passion, you just had to bring it out and you had to share it with other people. I mean, I really feel it and I get that. And, it's interesting because you're talking about mindfulness. And I was having a conversation with a client earlier and they wanted all this business tips. And I said, my biggest tip for you today is be more present and be more in the moment and be more mindful in the actions you're taking. Because right now you're just trying to get all these different actions to throw out there. I just want you to be with you and be present and to work on yourself first, because sometimes we need to do that in order to move on and move forward. So I love the way that you talk, and I love who you are. One of the many things I love about you is that you are very authentic. How can a viewer be more authentic in their business?
It's a great question. So the first thing that comes to mind is to be authentic means really being connected to who you are, right? To that feeling of, okay, this is, I am meant to be here. I have a sacred purpose. It means really, to me, the first place is investing in time with yourself. And so, I was one of those people, I did not want to meditate when I learned it in my master's degree. We did a whole thing on meditation. I was like, yeah, I don't think so. My brain doesn't stop. I don't have time. I don't know how to sit still. Like, no, it's not me. And then, time after time I started doing it, realizing, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. And I attribute a lot of my transformation to learning to really, I always say meditation's just breathing and being still with some intention, because it can be a scary word. For me, I was kind of like, well, I'm not a monk on a mountaintop, so nope. Until I realized I know how to breathe.
Exactly.
I think being authentic, it's like being connected and being okay and owning who you are and realizing that it's good to have, we all are going to have different authentic expressions. That's the beautiful aspect of being, each of us being an individual.
I love the way you said that. I'll chat about meditation with you. I tried meditation for off and on for about 15 years. And no matter what I tried, it just wasn't, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit still. My mind would be everywhere. I couldn't focus on my breathing. And finally, I talked to a friend, and my friend said, I recently started meditating. I'm like, yeah, I tried that. I'm over that. And she said, well, I know you go for walks every day. You love to walk. What if you didn't take your music? First, I was like, what? And she said, just be present with yourself and see what happens. And the first time I did that, all of a sudden I got very still, very quiet. And when I got back from my walk, I had downloads of ideas and creativity and flow. And I thought, I wonder if this is meditation. So what happened for me is in my daily walking, I started just a meditation practice of being present on my walk, being in the moment. And that's how I began to incorporate meditation. Now, if I choose to, I can sit for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever there is in my day, and just get quiet and be present. And when I have my thoughts, I don't try and go away, I'm meditating. Now I just notice them, I observe them, I witness them. And meditation for me is a way of being centered, especially for us entrepreneurs. If that's any of our viewers, I'm sure it is. Their minds are chattering. The monkey mind is telling them 100 things to do, and it's really a way to be more authentic. So I'm glad to hear that you meditate. Of course, I'm not surprised to hear that at all. Not at all. Let's talk a little bit about your book. So tell people again the name of your book, and then tell us why you wrote a book.
So it's called Get a PhD in You. Get a PhD in YOU is sort of the...
Yes. So why a book?
So it's funny. I have sort of a backwards story around this. When I was in the thick of my, I was part of a very intensive support group around eating, and I was starting to do a lot of excavating of myself. And, it's a 12-step program. And if anyone's ever done that, you get into a lot of detail about yourself. And I remember I started going to another program because I have other people who struggle with other kinds of stuff in my family. And I remember being in this meeting and saying, wow, I feel like I am getting a PhD in myself. Like, that's what's happening. And I don't know why, but something about that, like a little light bulb went off, and I was like, wait a minute. That actually is not a bad idea, because I now feel like I have so many tools. I've gotten so much from others, like so many generous, kind people that have helped me along the way, including, books and workbooks and so many ways of studying myself. And the freedom that I started to feel in being connected to my heart and who I really am was like, you can't pay for that. Well, you can pay for it in terms of time and studying yourself, but you can't buy it. I mean, you really can't buy that. And I made to be honest, I heard over and over again. I mean, like intuitively heard for a year, really, you need to write a book on this. And I kept thinking, okay, but I was told, when I wrote the paper, I'm very flowery. I'm verbose. Like, who am I to write a book? Like, I love talking, better about writing. And it was finally a friend of mine who had written a book, and she showed me this mind map way of doing her book. And I went home that night, and the right brain kind of entrepreneurial mindset I have, I went home and I did this little mind map thing. And the next thing I knew, the whole structure of the book wrote itself in 20 minutes. It was weird. So for me, I actually made it into a sacred practice. I would go up I have a loft in my bedroom. I would light a candle. After meditating, I would imagine like myself years ago or someone that I was coaching, and I actually handwrote it. And I just took each of the mind map circles. I would put a circle and I handwrote it. And it was so cathartic. And I kept saying to myself, if this could even help one person literally get who they are, it really started there. And then it's sort of from there, I was like, well, I hope it's more than one person. I just go through this process, because then once I realized what it takes, it took 2 years to get this book to the shelf. I mean, it's no joke. It's worth it. But that was the intention is, gosh, I really hope, I know there's so much out there. So I had to deal with that voice of, there's so much out there, why? And then I went to the Marianne Williamson quote, well, who am I not to do that? And there might be somebody that hopefully there are a lot of people that feel called for whatever reason, either me or what my story in this interactive book. And so that became like this powerful intention of, this is like part of me adding to the world and to healing, and to helping people connect back to their heart, to their center, and then go from there, then do your business. So I always think of it like you plug yourself in. I heard that analogy. You don't use a vacuum cleaner without plugging it in. It doesn't work. So plug yourself in, know yourself. So that's kind of where it came from.
And what do you say to other business owners? If they're thinking of writing a book, if they're wondering, well, do I really need a book for my business? Lots of people say they do. Do you believe they do? And if so, why?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, on a kind of esoteric level, I think we all have really incredible stories to share. And I personally feel, I would say anybody and everyone, especially if you're into the entrepreneurial thing, it tells me, it took something to do that. And so, I mean, those stories are life-changing and inspirational. I'm always looking to read and listen to stories of people that are inspiring. So don't think small. It doesn't, you have no idea who you're gonna touch. So just on that level, in the kind of making a difference, do it. The other piece is business wise. I had heard, I thought and hoped it would be a help to my business, what I'm doing, my impact platform, all of that. And I would say it's beneficial in ways I didn't even realize, and it's continuously kind of exceeding my expectations. So I think if you're even considering it, or even if you're not considering it, but you watch this, I would say you really take it on and write a book. It is worth it. There's so many ways now. Self-publishing is fantastic. There's so many ways to do it that are, you can do it in a really professional, well-done way.
I love it. Thank you. And, I'm getting asked a lot of questions. Like, I always look at the questions people ask me on Facebook Lives, and they're saying, am I supposed to blog? Am I supposed to podcast? What am I supposed to do? I'm always curious. You, as a successful business owner, do you believe people should be blogging, podcasting, and what is Julie up to?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, this goes back to the question about authenticity. And this is where I don't have a one-stop shop answer. The first thing I would say is you got to tune into your gut, into your intuition. I knew for me that doing a weekly blog as I'm working in my business and on my business was not where I wanted to go. However, I've done writing in addition to my book. And if someone, there's a listener out there that's a great writer or loves to self-express with writing, then that could feel very joyful and a great way to also build your brand. I would say go for it. Now, for me, I love obviously talking and hearing people's stories. So I just started, and I want to talk to you about this after, but I'm starting a podcast in January 2018 because I want to highlight people's stories. I am obsessed with inspiring transformational stories. And so that's authentic for me. And I checked in with myself over time. And by the way, it's been 3 years. And so I'm now at the point where I'm feeling like, yeah, that is the next, that makes sense. So for me, that's an authentic expression. The blogging really probably wouldn't be, although I do newsletters and that here and there. I think it's always, it comes back to trusting that we are given everything we need. And when you're connected to your highest self, to your heart center, that you will be guided what to do. And so for me, no to the blogging, yes to the podcast. That's kind of the...
I love that. The lesson that I'm getting over and over again is it's being mindful. It's tapping into your passions and what authentically comes to you. I was talking to somebody last week and they said, well, how do you write your books? And I said, every book has flowed in a different way. I've had some books that I literally have just sitting down with pads of paper and like you, the book just sort of did its thing and here it is. And then I've had a couple that I keyboarded. I tried to handwrite. It just wasn't coming, and I keyboarded them. I had one where somebody actually interviewed me, and then we took the transcripts of the interview, and a book came out of that.
Brilliant.
And one of my books that I'm working on right now, I am literally speaking the book. And that book is a book that, for whatever reason, my moments right now and way of expressing it are verbal. So the right answer is what brings you joy, what allows you to be authentic and in the moment and share. So going back to you, it's all about you. There's so many things you do. And you're a mom on top of all this, right? You're an entrepreneur. You're teaching at Georgetown University. You've got a book. You're thinking of starting a podcast. There's so much going on. How do you each day figure out what's going to bring you the greatest joy when you have all those awesome choices, Julie?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to be I'm always, authentic, vulnerable, candid, and I'll share, first of all, so it's kind of like, sometimes I feel like if you're stepping on stones that are moving, it's kind of a moving dance. So one of the things I realized about probably within the year was how lacking I was as being a parent. Like, I was there physically, but and I'm going to call myself out on this, and it was not fun. My son, who is like delicious and edible, and all he wants is like a puppy, is just to be loved. And he said to me, Mommy, I think you love your phone more than you love time with me. He was But that's not, he wasn't kidding. I got it. I heard him. And the good news is I'm a quick learner and I'm listening. So I said, okay, that is not okay. That is the opposite of what I intend. I had thought, while he's doing homework, while my daughter, in the moments when they weren't looking, I was checking Instagram, Facebook. No, what I've really learned, and it's been humbling, is where I am, where my feet are, that's where I'm planted and that's where I'm present. And it's not always easy. I got to be honest. When I'm with my children, especially now that I'm remarried, so my former husband, we have a really nice relationship. It still is, half and half. So when the weekends are with me, that means I'm not doing work. And so there's a level of acceptance and being okay with that, and remembering that it's a dance. The thing is, for me, and I think we talked about this earlier, I also have this thyroid Hashimoto's condition, and it's really imperative. I've learned this now the hard way that, enough sleep, meditation, eating well, moving well, that is non-negotiable. And so, I had another minor flare-up recently, and I realized, wow, this is no joke, and I do believe in the ability to heal from within and all of that. But I also, I love my career. I'm in love with what I'm doing, and sometimes it has to take a second, a back seat if I need to take care of me first, which is what my book is about. But being, living it, a whole different. It's putting it in practice. So I'm like on the court with this every single day.
Isn't it really cool that it's kids, and it's so often kids, that bring us back to priorities and what's important? I remember, this is going back about 10 years ago, one of my nephews always overheard me doing coaching on the phone. He was always in my house, and he'd hear me say, what is working, and you have to be focused and fully present. And one day I came home rushing and was going to make dinner. And he wanted to tell me something about his day, and I was going, And my nickname is T, so he said, Aunt T, aren't you supposed to be focused on what is working and fully listening to me, being present? And I went, thank you for that, put everything down, and said, I'm not multitasking from this point on. When I'm with my family, I'm with my family. When I'm with my client family, I'm with my client family. And it really changed everything and let me be more present and have a more fulfilling life. Yeah. Right? That's what it's all about. So we're about to wrap up. It's been way too quick. What's a word of wisdom or a sentence of wisdom that you would like to leave our listeners with, our viewers with today?
I think it's coming back to number one, it's getting that each of us has everything you need from within. And when you allow yourself to fully self-express from your heart center, that you are here for a purpose, and that you're gifting not just for yourself, but like you've no idea who you can touch, and that is actually changing the world for the good and the better. So it's incumbent upon you to love and honor you so you can give that out. It really, that can make all the difference. And if everyone did that, a whole different place.
I have to tell you, this is one of the most beautiful interviews. Like, I'm so glad you're a guest here. And what's truly beautiful about it for me is that we're talking about a concept or concepts, mindfulness and authenticity, that can actually make people more profitable in business.
Yes.
If they focus on this, they don't have to worry about all those other things. And it's really the core. Thank you so much for being a guest here on Terry TV. You're just so awesome. Give a shout out one more time to your book.
Oh, okay. It's Get a PhD in You. Yes.
Excellent. Get a PhD in You. And I recommend you go grab the book. You're going to love it. Thanks again for being my guest, Julie.
Thank you, Terry. That was awesome. Thank you.